Dark Nexus. Tonight, it's Act 3, Chapter 91. We're picking back up on the 12th of Neth, and we'll start by wrapping up the story of Day 2 on the Starling as it now heads southeasterly following the coastline of Lake Incarthen. Dabwick spent the morning working their shift with the crew, resettling back into old routines. Met with Captain Freeling at dawn to discuss the spells they have available, and Polly. I noticed that the Read Weather spell specifically forecasts the weather at your location at the time you cast it. So it might be less useful in the way we've been kind of thinking about it, since you'll be on the move during the day, but it might be a great thing to cast as the ship is getting ready to anchor in place every evening, so you'll at least know what to expect overnight.
That makes sense, yeah.
And Dabs also has 2 castings of Alter Winds available to them that day, and that's going to be a huge boon. I'm thinking probably casting it, because how long does it last? Like 7 hours, is that right?
Yes.
So probably casting it at the beginning and the end of your shift each day.
Yeah.
It involves 1 full minute of casting time, and the target is going to be the Starling's mast. So you've got a whole bunch of spells you're bringing in that have extended casting periods. Do you have any sense of what the casting of this particular spell looks like?
What jumps to mind is some kind of like airbender type Tai Chi kind of movement.
Yeah.
Because it's a long period of time to be casting, and it's vocal somatic. So some sort of muttering, humming sound with Tai Chi like swooping movements.
I love it. And then for 7 straight hours after every time they cast this spell, once the light winds coming off the lake approach the mast, this spell speeds them up so that when the winds hit the sail, they are moderate instead of light. This tacks on an extra 5 or 6 knots to the wind speed, which will, in the case of our fictional story here, mechanically add on an extra mile traveled each shift, or an extra 2 miles per day. Over a 3-month period, this is going to really add up.
Excellent.
And at higher levels, I believe Dabs can even raise the wind to
higher speeds.
Yeah, higher speeds.
Hurricane level winds.
Severe.
Driving us forward with many knots.
It might be necessary. And then in the afternoon, while Grip is taking his shift, and we talked about him getting himself settled last time, Dabs is able to play around with some other spells. And hey, Polly, why don't you do a quick initial casting of that spell that you mentioned to me this week?
Oh, okay.
I've got art.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Oh, show the art. Oh, yay. So this is fantastic. So once a day, with only 1 round casting time, Dabwick can summon
A school.
a small school of hippocampi. And
Oh my god.
they can serve as combat-trained mounts. So they can be ridden and just normally ridden for a period of an hour per level. But they could also be used in combat, which would cut down their availability, their time, their duration would be shortened a little bit. 1 round per level instead of 1 hour.
A little bit.
But between now and then, my thought was as we get closer to the time when Dabwick would be needing to re-up their spells anyway, any spells that they haven't cast yet should be cast. And to prepare this on sort of regular, it might be fun to have Lynn and Din sort of chasing each other around on hippocampi around the ship while we're approaching dusk.
And I know Vic is working and Dora is reading, but Barnabas might be able to, if he's interested, go out and do some hippocampus riding.
I just want to describe for anyone that's not actually able to see this right now.
Yeah, please do.
A hippocampus appears to be a cross between some sort of mer horse and the tail of a shark.
Yes.
A very long, creepy tail of a shark.
Is an aquatic horse with shark
seahorse?
tail. Yeah, it's a seahorse. Very, very fun. So those are
Crazy. And you summon a school of them?
Yes.
How many do you summon?
I think it was
Are they intelligent?
35.
Do they speak?
Oh, let me check.
1 + 1 per 3 caster levels to
Oh.
a maximum of 6 at 15th. So 3. I can summon 3, which is plenty.
Creature.
It's more than I've ever seen.
creature has the foreparts of a horse and the hindquarters of a fish. Its forelegs end in splayed fins rather than hooves. Oh, they have animal intelligence. They do not speak languages. And then, let's talk about, real quick, about two other spells you've mentioned to me specifically, Polly.
Okie dokie.
Riversight and Alter River. Now, reading Alter River closely, I think we need to wait until you hit the actual river. In this case, the Glass River, which will take you from Lake Carthen to the Sellen. And that's over 300 miles away, so don't bother prepping that one for now. It will be very useful later. However, as I read Riversight closely, I think you can use it out on the lake here. Its defining parameters are all about the target waterway being natural and freshwater. And that's basically the only restriction. So I'm gonna say you're good to go here. So this one's fun. It's another 1 minute casting time, and it requires this smooth stone as a material component, or maybe it's a focus. So I can picture Dabs having collected a nice big pebble from the shoreline in Thrushmoor.
Because Riversight it's not linear. So by carrying this rock from Thrushmoor, I'm connected back to where we came from, looking forward to where we're going, and able to make this magical sensor of what's happening in the waterway ahead.
And what level spell is this?
Surprisingly, only a second level spell.
So you may have been casting this on your way up as well, too. So you might have a stone from the shoreline in Star Bay in Casimir as well.
Right.
And maybe these two stones get swapped out as you go.
Cool.
So I can picture Dabs dangling their arm over the side of the ship, and as the stone in their hand touches the water, it's like, bam! Suddenly, Dabs's perception soars outside of their body, and they are able to see anywhere within 14 miles ahead of you or 3 miles behind you, as if they were basically a little frog surfacing just their eyeballs above the waterline. They know what is on the water, what is in the water, and what is within 15 feet of the shore. And the spell lasts for 7 minutes, and so basically every round, Dabs can bounce their perception around anywhere in that 17-mile span. I'm guessing you just kind of pop your eyeballs around and see what you see?
Amazing. Yeah, so popping my
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Give me a perception check there.
That would be a 22.
22, you say?
I do.
Okay. Dabs does spot something interesting.
Treasure?
So much treasure, Katie. It's a treasure of books. Dabs sees a giant, wingless insect perched atop the edge of a cliff overlooking the lake about a mile or so behind you. It is over 3 feet long, over 50 pounds in weight, it's got to be. This big, bulbous, segmented carapace, 3 pairs of long, hairy legs. It's this deep, dark, reddish-brown in color. It's got these giant, beautiful, fractured mirrors for eyes, these multitudinous windows flanking the carapace of its head in bilateral clusters, and they are sparkling with an unusual level of understanding. It's coming a little earlier than I expected here.
I don't like it.
I have art.
Oh.
Here.
I really don't like it. I don't know if I want.
Here's art for this giant flea.
Ah.
Oh, wow.
3 feet.
3 feet long. So, Dabs, this is a world that has some giant insects, so they might just normally notice it and move on, but with that perception roll, you do notice that this giant flea is looking right at the ship. And because of the fog and the late afternoon light and the distance, there is no way it could actually see the ship. But it seems to know exactly where you are. And then, without any warning, just BAM! It leaps 120 feet down the shoreline. No wings, just straight up jumps. Lands on this other outcropping of rock overlooking the ocean-like lake there. It just stares out into Lake Incarthen, where it still seems to know exactly where the ship is, and it stands up on its rearmost pair of legs. Its antennae and its biting mouth parts are kind of like twitching and tasting the air. And Dabs, you see this deeply upsetting, hideous black blotch all over the underside of its otherwise paler abdomen. And then, like that, it leaps another 120 feet, and it must land further than 15 feet from the shore, because then you don't track where it lands.
Is that? Did it look like the inmost blot sort of covering it?
Let's see.
I feel ill.
I do too.
Right?
That's horrible.
It's terrible.
Well, okay, so how does Dabs respond to this? Does Dabs share this information with the
Is there
others?
a knowledge nature check for him to make on the discoloration?
Yeah, give me a check.
Or just on giant fleas in general?
Knowledge nature check.
But they only go after
Ooh,
giant
that's a
dogs
good
and cats.
knowledge nature check. We're talking a 30.
Oh, okay.
What does Dabs know about giant fleas?
So they have this uncanny leap ability that you've already seen demonstrated.
Really?
And a flea can treat this jump as a charge as long as the leap is made in a straight line. They can basically charge 120 feet.
I imagine that gives them a little bit of an advantage.
So
coming in with
cool.
some damage.
They are typically disease-carrying vermin, and the disease is... Dabs would think of it as low DC, low impact, probably something that might certainly have a kind of a devastating effect on on a child or a lower level commoner. Probably it's not something that Dabs is too worried about.
Yeah.
As vermin, they are immune to mind-affecting effects. They do have damage reduction. They can only be effectively damaged by slashing weapons. They get a small bit of DR, 5 slashing. Dabs would not think of this particular shoreline in this particular area as being a normal breeding ground for giant fleas. They tend to cluster further to the north, closer to where Barnabas came from, in the World Wound area, or maybe like where we know Doris/Tima, where that body is from in Numeria, that there is where it's kind of like warmer because it's closer to the abyss, because the abyss is leaking out into the world up there. This is not typically their climate. This coloration is not something that Dabs is aware of, does not seem natural. In fact, it seems deeply unnatural.
Did its behavior seem to, like it was burying its abdomen in a gestural kind of way? Could that be interpreted?
No, but
Okay.
It seemed to be standing up on its hind legs like that was something that it did as a matter of course.
What about the intelligence in its eyes? Like,
Very unusual. Most giant fleas have an intelligence score of nada, like not even 0. They don't have an intelligence score. This thing definitely seemed to possess a mind and an awareness.
Gross.
I definitely share this with the group because God knows we're in the same boat. No pun intended.
When Dabs describes this particular blotch on the underside of this flea to Vic and Dora and Grip, they recognize something that Dab never saw, which was the holy symbol of Jamandor that was marked in blood on Jane's wall in that cave. When Dabs looked at this shape, it just kind of read like a weird discoloration, but as they're describing it, it's like, oh yes, blotch with dangling tentacles. You recognized, and Vic, Roni at the time spent a whole bunch of time scrubbing those walls
Cleaning
and
them off,
cleaning
yeah.
them off. So this appears to be a giant flea marked with the unholy symbol of Jamandor.
Or possibly some sort of creature that is able to change their shape into a giant flea.
I don't know.
it's like a flea with cleric levels.
Oh my god.
Or a druid. Or a wizard. Or a sorcerer.
The good news is, after that initial sighting for the remainder of that spell, as Dabs is, I'm imagining, kind of frantically trying to relocate it, it doesn't get back within sight of the water there.
And no other signs of danger or strangeness.
Not in the that casting of that spell.
Well, that was a pleasant interlude.
Since Dabs has now seen this flea, would they be able to scry this flea, whether it was in a flea form or another form?
Dabs would be able to. Dabs has seen this. As I look at the scry spell, Dabs has seen the subject, has firsthand knowledge, and could certainly attempt with no penalty or no bonus, basically. Which is, in terms of a scrying spell, that's pretty good, because sometimes you're saddled with a bunch of penalties. If you could come up with a body part, that'd make it easier. Yeah.
Does the River Sight spell alert someone who is on the lookout for being scried?
Amazing question. Just like the scrying spell, it does create a magical sensor. Any magical sensor of that type can be spotted.
Okay.
Like those little frog eyes.
And the subject would basically be aware of a disturbance in the air, and if they had its spellcraft knowledge, like perhaps a shape-changing spellcaster, they might figure out that they're being scryed on.
Or just a flea with some wizard levels.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Just a flea with some wizard levels.
Oh, that sounds great.
So then, after that interlude, and you pull Vic away from his work briefly and Dora away from her reading to share this information, and then you get back to meditating for your spells. But before you do that for the day, you can cast your Lesser Restoration on Dora to help her with her madness. Is she willing to step away from her reading?
Yes, thank you.
What, you want to just do that right here?
Is that all right?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Excuse us. Zoom.
All right, give me a roll a die. Give me a 1 or 2.
It's always a 1.
I have this horrible image of you, like, not eating, looking really bad.
That's not a...
It's a 2.
2!
Thank you.
Amazing. Dora is down to 5. So we know that Dora... I'm going to use the word refused, just to put some context around it. Refused therapy this morning, but did specifically ask for this spell. So does she engage with Dabs as this is happening, or she just allow it to happen while Dabs is sort of laying a healing hand on her?
She is... so much information in the last few days.
Yeah.
Player Katie keeps coming back to her being the only one with any sanity damage left, and how that is expressing itself. I think I've talked about that before, so I don't want to rehash it too much. But she's obsessed with this research project. There's no... Your image of her, Johnny, is not far off. She's eating when reminded. She's sleeping when she is exhausted.
Yeah.
But she's so fascinated by the character of Lowell's. And some of this feels a little bit like on Tima's behalf. Like, he could not have done what he's doing without Tima.
At all.
He could not have gotten there.
No.
So Dora is sort of picking up a little bit of what she imagines is Tima's frustration with this foolish man. And Melisande taunted her. He found it. He beat you to it, whatever. Like, that's... Dora doesn't care about that, but she knows she is equipped to find him, to catch up with him, to learn what he learned. And she wants to do it.
Yeah. Give me a sense motive check, Polly.
$19.
Okay, I think Dabs is probably making a note to themselves to keep an eye. I mean, I know you have already expressed an interest in, making sure you cast the spell for her every day, but I think some of this is a kind of behavior that's slipping into something. I mean, you've only been in combat as long as you've known her.
Right.
But now that you're seeing her at rest at a time where effectively the rest of you are kind of like stretching out a little bit, relaxing a little bit. She seems to be winding up tighter. Huh. So I'll just put that in your ear, Paul. That's something that Dabs notes is like, maybe keep an eye on her.
Great. Thank you.
So that's Dab's day. That's Dora's day. We know Grip spent his day learning his way around the ship and beginning his training. Vic spent the morning in counseling with Stasi. Got down to 0 sanity damage.
Yes.
But we didn't talk about what dormancy looks like with your particular madness, Johnny. So let's hit that real quick. You will be bummed to learn that you are still stuck with the -2 penalty on bluff, diplomacy, and sense motive checks. And you do still have that bonus to saves against charm spells, but there are 2 pieces of good news for you. As long as you stay dormant, failed sense motive checks do not and will not trigger you to think that people are conspiring against you. And you can now give and receive the aid other action whenever you like. No penalty, no save, nothing.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's great.
That's good news.
So I know, we had talked a little bit about some research stuff, and you had been bummed, like, oh, maybe I can't even help with that.
Yeah.
But, that's an option for you now.
Oh, that's amazing.
We know you spent your afternoon getting the crafting station set up in the hold, and we'll check back in on that in the future. Dora spent the morning organizing those books and is now working now on the ritual.
Yeah.
As Dabs comes in to cast that spell. Whew. Okay. And then, overnight, you all dream. And unlike in Act 1, you're no longer stuck halfway between the real world and the dimension of dreams, haunted literally by the Tatterman's nightmare ability. And unlike in Act 2, tonight you do not dream the dream of Jamandor. You do not dream the same dream. For just as your dreams are of God, sometimes your dreams are for God. And tonight, the inmost blot dreams your dreams. What a blessing. Y'all, you are holy. Praise. But what exactly do you dream tonight? Let's answer that question together, shall we? I want to ask you all to close your eyes. And as you do this, I want to ask you to reflect for yourself on what it feels like to enter and to waken from a dream, what it feels like to make that transition, and what it feels like to try to hold on to details from a dream or a nightmare, how loose it can feel, how hazy. What it feels like to remember your dream perfectly when you open your eyes, and then by the time you stand up, all you have left is just a loose cascade of shadow slipping through your fingers. Some things stick, but so much of the rest of it is shadow or a story you tell yourself about what you just dreamt. Think about that feeling, and allow me to be your Jamandor tonight. And tonight, Grip and Dora and Vic and Dabwick, you dream that you are traveling. Grip, why are you traveling?
To find something that was lost.
Dora, why are you traveling?
I'm going home.
Victor, why are you traveling?
We're following Lowell's directions to try to find the different things that the mad poet needs. The gifts.
Dabwick.
I'm hunting and I'm running.
Your prey, where is it leading you?
It's dark and it's familiar, but I can't place it.
Dora, any idea where home is?
No, but it will find me.
Grip, where did you lose it? Do you know?
No. And I don't remember if it's something I held in my hand or something bigger than that.
Victor, you're following these directions to find these gifts. Do you know where the road leads you?
No. No, I don't. And I don't like it.
Who's with you, Vic?
It's the 5 of us.
Who's the 5th?
Lols.
Dora, is anybody with you?
Tima is with me. She's always with me.
Is she standing next to you?
Of course she is.
Grip, who's with you?
I think it might be my brother Victor, but his face keeps changing.
Dabuk, who's hunting with you?
I'm surrounded, but I don't think they recognize me. Or they don't see me. They're not with me. I'm alone.
By the end of this dream, do you reach your destination? Grip, do you find what was lost?
No, and I don't even remember what the thing is I'm looking for.
But you're still searching.
Still searching.
So the search doesn't end, the search continues and you wake?
Yes.
Okay. Victor, does this dream bless you with the experience of finding a gift?
No. But when I feel like I'm starting to wake up, I realize my teeth are falling out.
Do you catch your prey, Dabwick?
It escapes me, and it's chasing me.
Dora, do you and your partner, Tima, make your way home?
Home makes its way to us, but it's empty when we arrive, except for a box. And Tima tells me not to open it.
For all of you, some things are more real than they are true, or more true than they are real. Think about this dream. Is it more real? Meaning, do you think it or something like it may have happened to your character? Or is it more true? Meaning, do you think your character's subconscious told itself this story right now because it needs you to learn something from it? Gripper, was your dream real or true?
True.
Dora?
True.
Vic?
Both.
Dabs?
Both real and true.
All right. That was day 2. Day 3 dawns. Mile 14. The air temperature is very chilly, hovering right around freezing. The fog is heavy. The wind is light. This day, the 13th of Neth, passes relatively uneventfully. Let's check in on some highlights, and then I'll ask some questions about some key moments. This is day 2 of 7 for Gripper. Day 1 for Vic, towards being able to start trying to get rid of your dormant madnesses. And Dora is still sitting at 5 sanity damage, as we know. Dabs cast their spells to increase the winds. Doesn't spot anything today with River Sight. Looks like that flea either fell behind or moved along or noticed that it was being noticed. About the only thing that Dabs does make note of in terms of the River Sight spell is a notable absence of fish and wildlife starting a few miles back behind the ship. You didn't pass any unusual goings-on or disturbances, but it's like there's beginning to be a void of fish several miles behind you. And it's not like they're dead or something. They seem to be clearing out to deeper waters.
Behind us.
Behind you. And what time of day do you think Dabs usually casts Riverside? Obviously, like, if circumstances change, you can change your mind. But if we think about, like, what's the default on a quote normal day? Is that like early in the morning, end of a shift? What do you think?
I was thinking that depending on the captain's mood, but that it would be, report on what we see going on in the river ahead. What's the weather going to be like? What's the sign of the land ahead? And let's make a plan for what kind of speed we want to hoist the sail, and et cetera, et cetera.
Got it. So if we hit a stretch where you're ever like, I think Dabs is going to do this later, just give me a hoot and holler. But
Sure.
that's how I'll be thinking of
great.
how you're scanning the surroundings. I believe Dora is spending all day working on the Dreamlands excursion ritual. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So that's 2 more study sessions down. Only 2 left to go. And what's one more day of this looking like on her psyche? Is she socializing at all?
There's no time.
The picture of her with the candle in the prow of the ship, behind all the wood, tucked in with the books. Is she like talking to herself, making notes, or is this all purely a mental exercise? What does
she
it look
doesn't
like?
have to talk to herself, so no. But if one were to approach and say, Dora, it would be several tries. The volume in her head is pretty high right now, keeping track of a lot of strands of information in different languages and connecting dots. So her. She looks like she has a hand to her forehead. She is bent over. She is squinting. She is reading. Her hands are moving to make sure what needs to be in front of her to make a connection with whatever she's reading right now is there. She's taking notes. She's
taking notes using both hands.
God.
I
don't think she notices that.
No, but I think that's the thing, Katie, you notice about her today. Is that when she was just reading yesterday those 22 books, like she doesn't need to make notes on those, right?
Right.
Once she started working on this ritual that she will have to incant continuously for 50 straight minutes at the time that it is cast, the notes she's having to make are very, very intense. And this requires a lot of writing in the marginalia, which is exactly what Tima spent her life doing. And at various points, it does appear as though her body is slipping back and forth between hands. And so as you look back at the end of the day on the notes that you made, Dora wrote some of them and Tima wrote some of them. Wow.
That's so creepy.
I love it so much.
So awesome.
So Gripper's still getting used to working on the ship. Hey, Robert.
Do you wait a minute.
I'm sorry, wait, before we leave this.
Yeah.
Are there any notes to Dora from Tima?
Oh, are you looking for something like that?
Well, she part of this research has to be reading Tima's notes that she doesn't remember writing, right? Like, I think Dora's conscious mind knows what she wrote with her hand, but she needs to read Tima's notes to glean whatever she needs to glean from them.
Dora remembers everything that she wrote, but there's something about the kind of information that Dora's hand writes and the kind of information that Tima's hand writes.
Are we cooperating?
Without talking?
Yeah.
I think you're working in tandem. That there's something about, because Tima was a wizard,
yeah.
right? The aspects
it's a different thing.
The aspects of casting this ritual that are as close to arcane magic as possible, I think are the things that Tima brain just goes, zoop, all right, I got this. And the things that are way more esoteric and weird and about like vibing a group of folks to sleep themselves into the dimension
Dora.
of dreams, that part's all Dora. And in fact, like maybe Tima rebels a little bit at thinking of the world in that way.
Sure, but two heads are better than one. I mean, who can deny that? Can Tima even deny that? Having insight into that other part of it is not an edge over...
And maybe that's why she's walking beside you.
Yeah.
If someone was watching this, would they see you changing from looking like Dora to looking like Tima?
Ooh.
Like...
Gosh,
is it a physical transformation?
I don't think that's today.
I don't think so, just because that would be what Tima would look like. You know, Tima's not a rage monster while she's researching. She has an obsession with books just as, even more so than Dora does. So I think they look the same when they're doing this kind of work.
That the kind of emotional
But if
intensity...
she was interrupted, I don't know who you'd get.
A certain face just glares up. Could be Tima, could be
So
Dora.
if someone looked at Tima from X number of years ago, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two of you when you're researching.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's
the same
very
body.
creepy.
I mean,
right, but
she's not just walking around all the time screaming at people. She's angry and stuff, but
for those of you that
Yeah.
know these switches, that know these two people more than,
more
say,
attuned,
like Harlar and Reuben,
Or people with strong sense motives, like Stasi.
Yes. So, Robert.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to give me a skill check Everybody ready for this? Would you please give me a profession sailor check for the old gripper to see how today's work goes?
It will be my fucking pleasure to do so. I'm going to roll it old school.
Do it.
That's a modified 20.
Oh my god! Okay.
Nice. Just a 16 on the die.
So today's story. So we know that they were going to get you started working on the polling, which is the one job on the ship that is purely about like brute strength and like using your muscles to lever the ship and knowing exactly the right time to turn and with what speed and all that kind of stuff. I think he rocks at that piece of it.
Undoubtedly.
So today's a successful day of learning the ropes as it goes.
Nice.
And
Learning the sticks.
And Johnny, I know Vic is going to be spending 1 block crafting today. Have you made a call on your other activity for today yet?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the crafting first. You've now put in 2 blocks on your first project. Is that a point where you want to talk about it yet, or you want to keep a pin in it for now?
No, I'm totally happy to
let's
talk
chat about it quickly.
So the first day would have been getting everything set up, and I would have also sort of eyed the crew and tried to see who, if anybody, might have had some of the special materials that I would have needed.
So I think you pretty quickly discover that Harlar, that he kind of knows where everything on the ship is and where everything can be found. And, if you made notes to the captain about stuff, yeah, I can find that for you. What are you looking for?
I need some adamantine.
Oh. Well, I'm going to have to go talk to the quartermaster. And, he goes off for a bit while you're kind of getting things set up there. Gosa and Reuben are in there getting their set up for doing their carpentry and working on the sails and stuff. And Harlar comes back after a bit. Will this do you? And he carefully unwraps 1 bar of adamantine metal that apparently the quartermaster had been told to set aside as you were working on all of your supply arrangements with Skywood at the end of our last book there.
Yeah, that'll do real nice. And by the way, I like your scarf.
Thank you. I learned about these when I was working in the fighting pits in Agorian. Have you ever been in Agorian?
I don't know.
You don't know anything?
No.
I think I love you. I have so many stories to tell you.
I'd love to hear them.
Did I tell you about the time I lost my middle right toe?
I looked down.
It was in the fighting pits in Agorian. This was a small place in Dice End. It's kind of the low, rundown district. And, we weren't treated well. He goes on to tell you a whole story, an amazing story about the stretch of his life. This is the guy that's kind of older and a little...
The cook.
Yeah. So as he's cooking and you're getting set up, he fills you in on...
Why is it me always with the cooks?
I'm always with the cooks. It's so true. So what do you do with that adamantine?
So the first day is getting everything set up, and then I think that it's got to basically sort of almost cook overnight because it's this incredibly hard metal. So it's like pouring different things and putting into this basin basically and letting it soften so that it can actually be formed and shaped.
Nice. So Robert, where Grip is working is on the side of the ship right next to the open door where this is all happening. So the two of you are able to... Actually, it sounds like this day there's maybe even a little more socializing than on some days where you might be working very intently.
Yeah.
Nice. And then what are you doing tonight?
So the second day is actually then forming it.
Ooh, into what?
Into a new pistol. Yes. A new alchemical torch.
And I think so this is the day 3 here, Gripper, where, of course, yesterday, just like he's making metal soup, this is the day you catch sight of an entirely brand new pistol being fashioned in front of your eyes.
When did you fucking learn how to do that?
I don't know. I mean, I worked on this one, and I hold up the old alchemical torch. And I was working on a prototype before that I gave to Bates. But this one...
Right at that time you gave the child a firearm. I remember that time. That was great.
He knew how to use it.
He's a smart lad. I don't doubt that.
I feel bad for the fellow that tries to mess with him. But this one's kind of special. Yeah.
Is it going to be magical then, is it?
Eventually.
I don't understand half of what you do, but I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah, me too. I know you've been using that short sword, but is there anything you'd rather be using?
Well, that's a very interesting question. And there might be. Become pretty attached to this sword with its lack of slashing. Served me very well. Tell you what, let me think on that here for a minute, and I'll let you know. But I bet there will be something I could use.
Nice.
I mean, even a dumb fuck like you probably has some ideas.
Hey, I might. You son of a bitch. Roni Gulstoika, whatever the fuck your name is.
Just call me Stony.
Guys are so masculine.
And then the second half of your day?
The second half of my day is broken up into a whole mess of things. Read the Chain of Knights.
Oh, reading the Chain of Knights.
Yep.
To grab that sweet something bonus. Let me pull
Planes
that up.
bonus.
Oh, bonus.
One
on plane.
time.
Floating +2 bonus you can apply to any single knowledge planes check related to the dimension of dreams. Once used, the bonus is gone and cannot be replaced. Awesome.
And inscribe 4 spells into my formula book.
Oh, very, very good. Do you want to share any of them with us? Do you want to save them for later?
Those 4 spells are from the red spell book.
Yes.
And once I have transferred them over, then I can give the entire spell book back into Dora's care.
So that she can use it with the
so that
mnemonic
she can
vestments.
use it, exactly.
Oh, we're getting high level. This is fun.
Yeah.
Love it.
So,
Fun stuff.
detect thoughts.
That is on your list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eagle Splendor.
Yeah. And
Expeditious Retreat.
that one raises intelligence, right?
Yep.
Expeditious Retreat will increase your speed.
Eagle Splendor's charisma.
Eagle Splinter's Charisma.
Expeditious Retreat.
That raises your speed. Okay.
And Fox's Cunning.
That's intelligence.
Yeah.
Nice. And the book goes back to Dora
Yep.
with all the rest of the piles of books down there.
Yep.
And you want to cast some Lesser Restoration on Dora there, Polly?
Yeah, Dabwick's gonna come in and see. Dora, are you ready?
Oh, is it time already?
Well, yeah. It's almost dusk.
Then, yes, thank you.
Have you eaten yet today?
I must have.
I'll fetch you something.
She has not.
I can tell. I'll fetch you something when we're done here.
You're very kind.
Not at all. Zoom.
Zoom. Give us that roll, Polly.
1.
Dora's down to 4.
Oh, thank you. I feel ever so much better after you visit.
Here, have an apple and a piece of cheese. You'll feel better.
You just put it there.
I'm sure we'll get to it. And then overnight.
Before overnight, Vic would definitely swing by and meet up with Dabs and ask if they had seen the giant flea again. And if the answer was no, he'd be like, "Hey, I remember you saying that you could scry. Is that something that you prepared?"
Well, the captain didn't ask me to, and I didn't do it at dusk today. But I can do that. You want me to scry on that flea, eh?
Yeah. Maybe tomorrow you prepare a scry and you can check it out.
All right, I can agree to that. That's.
I mean, only if you want to.
Well, I don't want to. Of course, I don't want to see that thing again. But you make a good point. All right. Yeah, after tomorrow at dusk.
Thanks.
Overnight, the tiny seeds in your brains shiver and pulse and quake a little bit as you all send little trails of personal information through the ether into the slowly awakening elder god you are all part of. Day 4, mile 24. Quite chilly. Quite still. It's very foggy, which is not what Dabbs was expecting from yesterday's casting of Reed Weather. There is fog everywhere. Fog in front of you where it flows over the choppy waves. Fog behind you where it presumably rolls in and among the waterside pollutions of Thrushmore. Fog on the Versex marshes. Fog on the Varno heights. Fog creeping out on the yards and hovering in the rigging. Fog in the lungs of old Harlar, wheezing in the cabin. Fog in the bowl of Reben's pipe. Fog pinching the toes and fingers of shivering little Montgomew as he leaves his shift on deck. It's another sky of fog all around you. There never came a fog so thick in the sight of heaven and earth, except, of course, for the four of you that experienced Briarstone Isle. Grip, Dora, Vic, and Barnabas are immediately brought to mind of the fog inside the nightmare bubble. And this fog is not yellow, but it does not feel natural.
Does it smell of cake?
There's no cake smell, but that fishy kind of seaweedy smell that you've been very used to out in the waters here feels a little absent, like there's a void of scent. So all this fog is keeping you hugged closer to shore today than you have been the last couple days. And Skywind's on edge this morning, Dabbs, because she says you'll be passing the town of Illmarsh today around midday. And it's a town she typically prefers to keep a wide berth around. Katie, I know you love maps.
Why do they call a place Illmarsh? And they, maybe they're just inviting.
To warn you. You don't want to go to Illmarsh. That's not where you go on vacation in the summer months.
I just moved the little ship token on your map. Did you see how far we moved there?
Yeah.
We have so much further to
That
go.
was devastating.
So much further to go.
Oh my God.
So speaking of that, Johnny, why don't you all give me a knowledge local check about Illmarsh?
Absolutely.
Well, it's a swamp and it's sick all the time.
19.
This town has a bad reputation. It is not far from the border of Razmarin, and it has
Razmarin.
in various periods of chaos in the region, it's passed in and out of the control of Ustalav. But the word control, I think, is a pretty loose notion here. It's an ugly place with a really creepy isolationist attitude, and you are aware of rumors haunting the region of ghastly midnight rites and sacrifices to a monster or a god lurking below the surface of the lake here. Great place.
So could be they're sacrificing to Razmarin, could be they're sacrificing to some Ustalavian monster. Don't know, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All bad.
Could be sacrificing to that giant worm underneath the lake. The first half of the 14th of Neth passes relatively uneventfully. This is day 3 of 7 for Gripper, day 2 for Vic on their journey towards sanity. Dora is sitting at 4 sanity damage. Dabbs works their morning shift, casts their Alter Wind spell. Grip, give me that profession sailor check.
19.
Oh my god!
They're so good
Look at this. This is
I
awesome.
have consequences prepared for you, but you've got to fuck a roll up. So I think, Grip is...
Everything's turning around for you in book 3.
Yeah, Grip is rocking
A
it.
sailor's life for me.
Vic, morning shift on the old alchemical torch project. Is that right?
The torch was done yesterday.
Then what is next for you today?
Next is crafting ammunition. I gotta get some more ammunition and some varied kinds and stuff like that.
Got it.
I think it would be continuing working with all of the gunsmithing stuff, and then once enough stuff is made, then packing that up and putting it away.
Did I ever tell you about a time that I sold very, very small bolts for hand crossbows on the streets of Absalom?
Was it to a pixie?
Pixies,
Please tell me it's a pixie.
Pixies were involved, but
Yeah.
look, I never learned to speak their language, so I'm not entirely sure what we even talked about.
No, but you were speaking their language, though. You didn't speak it, but you were speaking it. Am I right?
I think I love you.
You guys get each other so much.
Hey,
These
Harlar.
long conversations.
Harlar.
Yes.
hey, will you do me a solid?
You know I would.
All right.
Do anything for you.
You know, Dora, She's the one down in the hold. She doesn't leave that area. It's getting kind of ripe down there, right?
Yes.
She's not been eating too well. Would you do me a solid and make sure you go in and interrupt her and give her breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
I'll do that for you. Does she like spicy food?
Yeah, absolutely. The spicier, the better.
Got some Scotch bonnets here.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I mean,
That's a callback.
well done, my man. Hey, your scarf.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick that color?
I wear this to invite inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
See the gods work in mysterious ways, my friend.
You have
And if
no
you-
idea.
If you don't invite them in, they won't counsel you. This is my way of inviting them in. He stares up at the sky with this very weathered face, and he's probably missing a couple of toes. You notice now it's not just the middle toe on.
Yeah,
the
when I
one
look
foot.
down, like I noticed that not just the middle toe,
No.
he's missing.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4, he's more like 7 toe.
This guy has lived a
Arlar.
life.
Yeah.
Is there any, god in particular you're trying to invite in?
Everything starts with Desna, my friend. We are on the road. If we don't start with her, we're fucked.
All right.
Keep it in mind.
Yeah,
Keep it in mind.
yeah.
Don't be like me and Riddleport. I forgot. He stares away ominously.
He's been everywhere.
I think
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I've been to Riddleport.
Yeah, you look like the folks there.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have family from there. We'll talk about it later.
He does bring Dora food down. Morning shift passes. As we crest into the afternoon, Katie, this is Dora's last block of learning this ritual. And around 1 in the afternoon, things start to get pretty tense on the ship because Ilmarsh is nigh. And again, Skywind tends to avoid the village, saying that no ship receives a friendly welcome there. But she's having a hug close to the shore because there is so much fog. And then as you pass the 1 o'clock hour, give me perception checks. Those of you that are on the deck. This is definitely Grip. This is Dabs at this time. Vic, you're working out there, so yeah, you can give me a check too. Katie, I can take one for Stasi. And for Barnabas too, Robert.
Wow.
Who got anything interesting?
29.
Oh, nice.
27.
That's for Stasi.
Yes.
27, 29.
16 is the best I got between my two boys.
Okay.
Dabwick got a 35.
Ooh.
That is most interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
35.
35.
Rolled a 19, have a 16 on that perception check.
Okay, so I think the Stasi catches sight of what must be Ilmarsh first. Seeing just these really run down, jagged looking series of docks kind of looming out of the fog, calls folks' attention to it. Barnabas and Grip are right there on the side of the ship there, and Vic is able to poke his head out of the cabin and see it as well. And you catch the sight of like shuffling figures passing a series of long, barbed chains from one wharf to another, like clearly designed to make all the jetties and the docks there unapproachable by ship, which, as you sort of gauge Skywind, she seems surprised by this. Like, it's not a welcoming place. She doesn't choose to go there, but they're not usually like, we're gonna rake your boat with barbed chains if you try to approach. And Dabs' attention is caught because they hear something. They hear a disturbance in the water. They make their way along the starboard side of the ship towards what sounds like large creatures larger than fish making their way through the water. And just with that godly perception check, at the furthest edge of your vision through the, feels like the fog just parts momentarily, enough for you to catch the distant shape of what looks like a giant looming ship way behind you. But that's not the sound you heard. The sound you heard is, oh my God, there are things swimming through the water right at the ship. You're able to call everybody's attention to it. The first thing we're going to do next time is roll initiative, because that's the end of chapter 91. We're going to pick up this fight next time.
What? A fight with what?
Exactly. Dark Nexus is a creation of Plug and Hum Productions. This podcast uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Incorporated, which are used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. This podcast is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo Inc. For more information about Paizo's community use policy, please visit paizo.com/communityuse. And for more information about Paizo and Paizo products, please visit paizo.com. That's PAIZO.com. Dark Nexus uses music and soundscapes by Sirenscape. Check them out at sirenscape.com. That's SYRINSCAPE.com. Opening and closing themes, along with additional music, composed by Rob Kauzlaric. Artwork for Dark Nexus is by Matt Wahlquist. Special thanks to Toy, without whose generosity this project would not have been possible. And thanks to DMCP, Richard and Ari, Paul and Shannon, Chris, Scotty, Jason, Jess, Joe, Chelsea, Matt, Dave, Darren, and everyone we've gamed with over the years for all the memories and inspiration.
Click the tab. Click the skills. Can you find skills?
Stop. Oh my God. Did you? Yes. Did you find them? Click the skills. Find the skills. Find the skills.
Are you looking on your sheet?
Are you even in
Have
Roll20,
you tried
bro?
turning it off and turning it on again?
Oh, I didn't mean to click tell me more. God damn it.